what my mission is, to put it in a nutshell, is to try to help teach people how to become better truth seekers, because ultimately through the truth, everything else that you could think of, whether it's trying to free yourself from the cabal or make yourself healthy or advance in your spirituality or have better relationship with your partner or your family or whatever, all that falls under the truth umbrella. So a few years ago when I woke up in 2010, I asked myself a question. I said, what is the biggest thing that I could lay claim to that would help as many people as humanly possible, that would encompass all these different aspects of various things we were finding in the truth community? And the three things I made contact with were philosophy, law, and psychology. And I know those sound kind of dry and dusty, but they're really like the big grand things, because as far as philosophy is concerned, that's basically how you use your own consciousness to make sense of reality. So, and psychology is like the mechanics of your beingness. And then law is the fundamental rules that make up existence itself. So if you think about life like a video game, the way that the video game is set up, that's where the law comes in, like all the things you can and can't do. Your psychology is like, well, how is the character set up? What skills does it have? And then psychology or philosophy is you actually using all of that in real time to do things. So when I made contact with those three big branches, I started to realize, yeah, actually everything does relate to itself. And if I can speak to these three subjects really clearly, then I can give people tools not only to discern whether or not the information they're understanding is true and accurate, but then how to use it in their lives and how to not be dogmatic with it. So one of the things I really try to emphasize is discernment, because in my time in the awakening community, which I've been involved since publicly since 2013, I've noticed there's a lot of people holding what I call flags of truth. You know, this is my truth, you have to believe it. Maybe there's another person who's got another truth that doesn't really jive the same, but you know, they want you to believe it. And I realized that there was a lot of people a lot of great information, but not a lot of like deep, rich understanding. Because ultimately, from a philosophic standpoint, from like what's called ontology, or the study of beingness, the truth is one. There's only one truth. But we all have different perspectives on that truth, which means that if we can work and figure out how to weave our perspectives together, then we can unite as a people to not only make our lives better, but free ourselves from this tyrannical control system that we have. So that's kind of like the big picture perspective that I have on my work. So as a way to do that, what I do is I find all sorts of different pieces of information and I present it as food for thought for people, asking them to think about it, contemplate it. And then when I have time, I'll actually do like a deep dive analysis of a body of material. I'll describe some type of concept or principle, some type of really important tool or useful ability, and really get into it. And right now there's a whole bunch of different things I'm researching. I'm researching male and female dynamics and how the cabal use divide and conquer tactics to separate men and women and destroy the human family and consciousness itself. I'm also researching what I'm calling kind of like the spiritual mechanism or blueprint that allows the creator's essence and plan to actually flesh itself out inside the creation through psychology and how that works in your actual body, which is really fascinating, because once you understand the kind of spiritual psychology, what I call spiritual psychology, all of your other human motivations start to make sense. And one of the control mechanisms the cabal uses against us is to make it so that we don't know who we are. We don't know our own nature. We don't know where we come from. We don't know what the universe is. And because of that, we don't really know our identity. I mean, if you don't know what your identity is, if you don't know where you're coming from, what you want to do, who you are, and where you're going, it's very easy for you to be manipulated and led astray. And we're basically living in a world where humanity has forgotten itself. And because of that, we're all kind of blindly walking off a cliff together in a collective sense, not everybody individually, but in a collective sense. So,
well, yeah, I'm sorry.
okay.
That's exactly what part of this awakening is really remembering who we are and remembering what we already know. It's just buried deep inside of us. And I like what you said earlier about I guess the cabal trying to divide the men and women, but it's not just men and women. As far as relationships, I think it's also families. It's separating families right now. There's a lot of controversy. Uh, people. I know someone who argues with her mom just over this whole deep state thing. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just people are growing apart. There's definitely a divide and conquer agenda happening.
Oh yeah, totally. And I would say the core wound is, the wound between parent and child. That's probably the first one, one of the biggest ones. And then from there, you have the wound between individuals and other individuals, and then obviously male and female. Like once you get old enough, the divide between men and women at a romantic level, at a pair bonding level. And from you got to realize that the deep state or the cabal, these guys are ancient psychologists. These guys have been studying human nature for all of human history, and arguably they inherited a whole lot of information from extraterrestrials or
Mm.
extra dimensional beings and things like this. So these guys know you better than you know yourself. And if you think you can live a happy, productive life without gaining self-knowledge, you're dreaming. I'm sorry. you know,
Yeah.
you got to know what you're doing. You have to know how your body works. You have to understand how your consciousness works. And when you do that, it can be a little intimidating because at first, the things that we're sold from society is we want to live like a kind of hedonistic lifestyle where it's all about pleasure and fun. And, we don't have to worry about our problems. We can just mask over them. You can just take a pill. You can go see a movie. You can drink a beer, whatever it is, the thing that's going to make you escape from your problems. But in reality, in your efforts to escape from one slaughterhouse, you're moving right into another one without even being aware of it.